Welcome back to the Spirit Discussions podcast. Today, I'm joined by a good friend, Mitchell. We're going to be diving into Nature Incarnate. We'll be talking about the new spirits, some of the major powers, events, fear cards. We're going to see how this feels to us, so settle in and let's get into it. Mitchell, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Mitchell. I was on this podcast before with the 144 player game, and I'm just Tom's friend. We play a lot of Spirit Island together. We chat about it a lot.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the spirits. Those
are the bread and butter.
Yeah, that's like always the most exciting, even if they're not actually the most impactful.
True. They're not in every game, like potentially some of these events or fear cards. What was your first one?
The first one I played was Wounded Waters. I really like transforming things into the game, and so when that was one of the options, that's the one I grabbed.
The Wounded Waters, whenever they were revealing all of the spirits, was the one that I was by far the most excited about. I wanted to play like 100 games of Wounded Waters, and when I finally sat down and played them, I was a little underwhelmed. What do you think of them now?
I like them. I enjoy Wounded Waters. Their growth pattern is... there's no options there. That feels a bit awkward. I always want to desire to go to the water path, but I always end up going to the animal path. It always feels better. And maybe if the two paths did more diverging things, I would like the spirit more. But it feels like both paths just, kind of destroy a land and generate fear, but in different ways. And so you just go with the one that tends to do it better, which I find to be the beast path.
I did a water path recently. I think it was against HME, and I found that was a little more fun because they're so durable with their talents. It wasn't HME, HLC.
Mm-hmm.
And so downgrading felt pretty good, but something that I find a little boring is that once you're online on turn 5, you kind of just pick a land and you say, you're destroyed now.
Yeah. I think I'd be more excited if, maybe the beast path was pick the land, destroy it, and the water path was kind of this splash AoE. Pick a land, and every adjacent land you push a town or something.
Yeah.
The exact balance seemed to have to be done there, but if the paths felt different.
Yeah, and maybe it's difficult to make them feel different because the design of the game is to stall a little bit and then destroy stuff, and that's just what the spirit can do.
Yeah.
I am going to be talking about this spirit in depth in a week or two with Crave, another player, and he wrote a Wounded Waters guide. So I'm pretty excited to sit down and chat with him in the near future about this. The spirit that I played first was our Stompy Boy, Ember-Eyed Behemoth. I was super excited to play Wounded Waters, and I think you were actually playing them in this game, and I said, okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna stomp around.
What's your thoughts on Embered Eyes?
He's simple, and I like that. It's fun to just, stomp around. There's not much more for me to express here. He does that, and he does it really consistently. You've got a big land, and he goes stomp, 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 and it's gone.
I totally agree. I think he's a fun damage spirit. You wander around and you destroy things. His challenge is mainly what do you do when your Incarnate kind of just ends up in the wrong spot? You made a mistake or you made a bet that it didn't pay off.
Yeah. He has this jungle synergy where he gets to, have more access to the jungles, but it's kind of light. It's very easy for him to make a sacred site there, and that's where you have the most accessibility with your Incarna. I mentioned the Incarna, so maybe we should talk about just Incarnas as a whole, really briefly.
Sure.
So, Incarnas are a new token to Nature Incarnate. They can do some pretty cool things. Some of them have different symbols on them, like beasts or badlands, but they're all representations of your presence. There's some pretty cool things you can do with them, too. Your favorite spirit, I believe, is...
Locus. That's the aspect, the incarnate aspect for Serpent Slumbers Beneath the Island.
Pretty close. What are some cheeky things that you can do with Incarnas?
A few things that you can do with Incarnas in general that most but not all Incarnas can do are, one, you never really lose the game for not having presence, because your Incarna can count as not a presence or presence whenever you want it to be. So if it's your only presence and it tells you to lose a presence, you just tell the game you don't have any presence and you won't lose any. Not a thing that comes up very often. There's very rarely do you have 0 presence on the island.
The opposite of that is true as well, though, where the game says lose a presence and you go, okay, I'll destroy my Incarna. I'll treat it as a presence for this situation.
Yes.
And especially for Locust, this is really easy to do because during the growth you just...
add the Incarna to one of my lands. Locust is very easy. There's some of the Incarnas you definitely don't want to do this.
Lair?
Lair? There's not a way to get your lair back.
Don't destroy it. In fact, whenever Blight would be added to that land, pretend as if your lair is not a presence so it doesn't get destroyed.
Yes. And that's the other thing is there's a land that you want to be in the slow, but it's getting Blight this turn. Well, if you put your presence in there, you just pretend like your presence is not a presence. Blight gets added, and then you can do whatever you need to do at range 0. Or
the other, pretty cool thing in my mind that these tokens do is that they flip.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think all of them do, but a significant portion of them empower themselves at some point. I feel as though I don't interact with this empowering as much as I'd like to, but it's a really cool feature. So our Stompy Boy that we had mentioned, Ember-Eyed Behemoth, has the ability to flip over and use his innate a second time. So I think that's really cool. I'd like to see more pizzazz with it. I want more empowering from the Incarnas. I don't exactly know how to do it, but there's only so many Incarnas, only about half of them empower. I like it.
Yeah, so they're all the ones that empower give either a token, like Locust turns into a Badlands when they empower, or they give you some ongoing effect. I think if you wanted more pizzazz about it, if they flipped over for just the turn and did something powerful, maybe on a Reclaim. Reclaim, you don't get to place a presence, but your Incarna empowers. And now you get to do something powerful with that. And then it flips back at the end of the turn. But that's not how any of them are designed.
True.
So
I do like empowering all of my Incarnas, even though it doesn't happen as often as I'd like. Some of these spirits I definitely enjoy more than others. Mention my first one, your first. I'll mention my favorite. I think everyone knows it. It's the Relentless Gaze of the Sun, who doesn't have an Incarnate, but sometimes I feel like I do, because I have this giant triple stack, or 6 presents in a single pile, roaming around like an Incarna would.
Honestly, playing with Sun, playing Sun so much, it does. It feels like there are more of an Incarna spirit than most of the Incarna spirits.
It fits into the group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there is much for me to say about the Sun. We do have a dedicated Sun episode that we did a few weeks ago with another person, Baby Sea Turtles, who had written a guide about Sun. I recommend checking that out, because we have a lot to say. Someone who has an Incarna that I think is really cool is Breath of Darkness Down Your Spine. This spirit we frequently just call Bodies. It's the first letter of each of their name.
Yeah, the spirit's a lot of fun. It has the biggest unique token is the Darkness Land, or what is the actual name of this thing?
A space of strange and infinite darkness.
Yeah, it's the biggest unique token, and it's the one with the most rules.
Yeah, we've talked about this spirit in relationship to Ocean a handful of times,
mm-hmm.
and how both of them are kind of doing the same thing with their own quote-unquote land. Ocean being a literal piece on the board, the ocean, and they just immediately drown them. Bodies kind of takes the ones that go into their quote-unquote ocean or the darkness and plays around with their food for a little bit.
Yeah. Also, one of their unique cards takes your friend's presence, and so you can relocate some of the less mobile spirits around on the island.
This card, that's the Reach from the Infinite Darkness. You get to abduct 2 presence, and you get some range. There's some really cool combos that you can do with this. Are there any notable ones that come to mind?
One I experienced recently was in a game in which I was playing Bodan, Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares. So I was playing Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares, and I had been absorbed by the Locust Serpent player a couple times, and my only presence left on the board from the being absorbed, being abducted, and playing some bargains was inside of Breath of Darkness's land. And the only way I could target the board at all was through Locust's ability to let you target through their Incarna, because I had presence absorbed there. Kind of a unique situation.
I think that the spirit's a lot of fun. They, I believe, are my second most played spirit from this expansion. They have 1 minor power from the deck that costs 0 and is perfect element. Here there be monsters. And this card kind of warps Breath of Darkness completely. If you find this on turn 1, it can completely shape your entire game plan. I think this is really cool. Something that's unique about them, past the fact that they have both an Incarna and a special Darkness token, is that they start the game with an extra Explorer.
Sunbright Whirlwind, unique ability, that's when they add it via growth. They get to push something, correct?
That's correct, yep.
Okay, so that wouldn't work with being abducted, but you could be abducted as...
Wildfire?
Wildfire, yes.
Yeah, Wildfire really likes the range, and adding presence is always juicy with them. A notable thing with Wildfire is that, or I guess I should say with Reach from the Infinite Darkness, is that if you reclaim 1, which you'll get later on your tracks, and play this card again, you don't have to necessarily abduct their presence to be able to give them range. Anyone in your zone will be able to get this range, so you can kind of keep the same people there for as long as you want.
Probably enough for now for bodies. Let's head down arbitrary list and chat about Wandering Voice, Keen's Delirium.
I am not a fan of this spirit.
I agree. I played them several times recently, and I felt like I was kind of missing things all the time. Like, just not clicking with me.
You mentioned missing things, and I feel that really with their passive, their special rule, where the Dahan don't participate if you're adjacent, I feel like I just kind of forget about that casually. Like, we get to the Ravage step, and I go, oh, these Dahan fight, and someone goes, no, they don't.
More specific than that, not only do they have to be adjacent to your Incarna, they have to have strife in that land.
Yeah, this is a high complexity spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as though a lot of the complexity is bundled into its special rule. Maybe I'm missing something, but a lot of its play pattern feels like you're just kind of moving your Incarna around, moving things and consolidating them. You're a really strong control spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And the complexity is this nuance of, well, your Incarna does other things too. And I don't like it.
Yeah, it's, is it the only Incarna with a downside?
Ooh. That comes to my mind, yeah. It's possible that the other ones do, and we just haven't discovered them, but This is the only one that's coming to my mind.
The other thing is, I don't think I've ever done it. There's, like Lightning Swift Strike, there is a play pattern in which you simply don't play cards early in the game to hit your double growth options more, and then you are guaranteed with the cards that start in your hand to be a very powerful spirit. I believe this one starts on turn 3.
Yeah, so the play pattern you're talking about is you go G2 off the bottom, G2 off the bottom, you play a card, and then you G2 on turn 3. Once again, you have the Reclaim, and you're a 0/4 spirit.
You'd be a 1/4
You're a 1/4 spirit, and your hand costs a grand total of 2. You went off the top on turn 1, and so you have enough energy to be able to play your entire hand, and this lets you do both your left innate and your right innate and kind of take over the game. You then reclaim every single turn from here on out.
Your reclaim gives you an energy, so you have enough energy. I know that, like, I know that people like this play pattern. It's not a play pattern that's fun for me.
It's dull, and it makes you not think about the game for what it is in front of you, rather than this weird design and just a puzzle to have been solved in advance. It's not for me either. So we have a couple of other spirits, and I'm going to say that the last 3 that we haven't talked about are probably the 3 strongest spirits. I think I'm comfortable to say that. So I'm going to go and bring up Towering Roots of the Jungle. This is another Incarna spirit, and they have a unique token. There's a couple of spirits that touch this token, but it's really their token. More than the spirit, what do you think of the token?
So these are vitality tokens. Vitality tokens have, when they're in a land with no blight, if blight would be added, you prevent that blight and you remove a token instead. I personally really like them. They're not necessarily the strongest of the tokens. They're very defensive, right? They're a
don't lose token.
They're a don't lose token. They don't help defend your Dahan. Most of the time you want to be defending where Dahan are, so your Dahan counterattack, and the Vitality just defends the land. The Dahan will die on their own. Towering Roots, one of the reasons they have this token is because invaders in Dahan and Beast just can't be damaged or destroyed where their Incarna is.
You know, if you want to talk about Incarna downsides, we could say this is another Incarna downside. It's usually an upside, but sometimes you have Dahan that want to counterattack.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. I've had games where to win we needed the Towering Roots player to get their trees somewhere else.
G3 and get out of here.
Go away. We need to destroy those buildings.
Yeah.
But because they have a growth option to move their presence, and in fact, all Incarnas can be moved instead of your normal growth options. So if you add a presence, you can not take it off from the track and move your Incarna there, or add your Incarna if it's previously been destroyed. Is usually not a thing you want to do, but it gets done.
They have another Empower, which is pretty neat. It relates to the Vitality, and if you get 3 Vitality, I forget, is it in the same land as
the land with the Incarna?
Yeah. It's a decent requirement, but then you flip it over, you come in Empowered, and anytime the invaders would build in the Incarna land, they don't. I think this is really fun, and I'm looking forward to doing this in about half the matchups, and the other half the matchups I basically never do it. Yeah, so ends up being the cost is, because you can empower this Incarna on turn 2, and the cost is approximately 2 energy. Your presence placement is more restricted, and a card play to add a Vitality. But a hidden cost there is you have 3 Vitality in 1 land.
That's a lot of blight prevention dedicated to one land.
It's also like you just kind of deleted that land, though.
Yes, but that's the land where your Incarnate is, and that's what your
innates
do anyways.
Get out of that land. You deleted that land. Be proud. Yeah, I think it's really cool, and it's fun, but the opportunity cost feels high.
Mm-hmm.
Even with that in mind, their power can feel overwhelming at times because they're so good at defending and just removing things here and there, yoinking everything out, and their elements are so strong within the game. I don't think this was intentional, but grass and sun are just really good elements together.
Yeah, they are a 4-element spirit, but the earth and moon requirements are pretty light.
Yeah, you even have the earth pretty early onto your track, and almost every one of your unique cards has a moon, so it's there.
It's there, but it does mean that your ideal elements are really hard to hit all 4 of them. You often have to give up one side of your innate for the other.
They have a really cool top track, or I think it's pretty cool, in that they don't have any dead space, but they go from 2 to 4 to 6 energy per turn, but they have to still go those 2 extra spaces to be able to get there. It's kind of neat.
The extra spaces are full of elements.
They are.
So, which is a distinct thing that I really like about the Nature Incarnate spirits as a whole is there's almost no dead growth. There is 1 space on Ember Eyes, and there's 1 space on Wandering Voice that is two card plays next to each other. But everywhere else, you're going up on energy, you're getting an element, or you're getting something like Breath of Darkness. One of their spaces empowers the Incarnate. It does a thing. Every growth does a thing.
Yeah, whenever you're comparing this to older spirits, Nature Incarnate makes it so that every single time you remove a presence, it feels good. The 2 spirits that have a repeating spot both have the ability to place 2 presents at the same time, ignoring this punishment, you might say, and that 2 in a row, you can avoid them on turn 1. It feels like every single time you place your presence for every spirit, it feels good. Even the spirits that have aspects, the ones that have janky, I'm going to call them, tracks, feel retroactively fixed somehow. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of magical. I feel like a lot of effort was put into making it so that presence feels good to place. Well, more than it already does.
I definitely agree with that. Back on the topic of Vitality, there's one major disappointment I have with Vitality.
Okay.
It's that Infinite Vitality, the major, does not add any Vitality. It was printed before Vitality came out, but it just feels a little bit wrong now.
But Infinite Vitality does do what Vitality does, but like on steroids.
For sure.
So we've got that going for us. I do believe, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I do believe that Vitality was part of the original design, and it was kind of taken out, like it was underutilized and didn't make the cut, basically. But this has been an idea from the beginning, so it's pretty cool to see it here.
Okay.
So we have 2 more spirits. Want to go over kind of quickly. The next one,
we'll start with Hearth Vigil, the good boy.
The good puppers. Hearth Vigil is, I'm going to say, a very boring spirit for me. And I think that this comes through in their level of consistency to be able to take over the game basically from very little effort put in. I was winning games very quickly without having to play them a bunch or even think about what cards go into play, but their innate powers are very strong.
They are for sure. They start with the ability, like, just on their tracks to gather a Dahan every single turn. Dahan movement's powerful. Gathering a Dahan's almost half of a power card. And they have that on their tracks before they even grow. Their favor of stories and seasons is almost Gift of Constancy, and Gift of Constancy is considered one of the best miners in the game. And sure, you don't get to reclaim, which is important. The card, that's the problem. Big problem with Constancy is you get to play it every turn. But you also move 3 Dahan. This moves 3 Dahan. Someone just has to be there. And so all their cards are good. Even like surrounded by the Dahan, it just gains fear and isolates a land, but it's 2 or 3 fear and an isolate. That's powerful things.
I would call that good.
Yeah, it's not very hard to get 3 fear out of this card, and I'm pretty happy 3 fear for 0 energy.
3 fear and an isolate.
And an isolate. It can be hard to make the isolate and the fear matter, or not the fear matter, but it's hard to hit the 3 fear and the isolate that matters, but either one's good, and if you make both of them matter, it's very good.
This is certainly one of my least played spirits. I've played them through all of the adversaries, and it took me 1 game each, played them solo, and then a handful of multiplayer, and I was kind of tapped out. I don't have much interest going back to the spirit. Some of their cool things and highlights to me are that they protect the Dahan from events. Some events hurt Dahan, and they say no, back off. Again, Dahan are very powerful in the game, so being able to keep them around is very good. They also give Dahan a lot of health. So even if the events would hurt the Dahan, they usually don't anyways.
Yeah, more so than other Dahan defense spirits like Eyes in the Tree. They let the land blight. They just put Dahan in the land and say, hey, my Dahan aren't going to die. I might blight. Now, I've stumbled more than Tom with this spirit. I still think they're very powerful. The thing that I've always stumbled the most with is their Loyal Guardian special rule, which is when all of the Dahan leave your land, you can move your presence with them.
Who's a good boy?
Who's a good boy? But unlike Thunderspeaker, all of them have to leave. Which means if you have 3 Dahan in a land and you use their innate to gather 2 of them, your presence doesn't get to come with them. You want to split up your presence when the Dahan moves? Well, you can do that with pushes, but you can't do that with multiple gathers. Lore-wise, I love that this spirit is one of the few spirits that's like the Dahan see and interact with.
Yeah, there's a lot of implications that the Dahan interact with the spirits in a lot of different ways. But this one is with them. It is part of their culture and very open, and it's protecting them constantly. Mm-hmm. We even see this through their gameplay elements, not through the events protecting them from the disease mostly, but whenever the invaders came during setup, the implication is that there were more Dahan and we're down to 6. Hearth Vigil gives you some extra Dahan to play with even. I think that's really neat. We see that a little bit, rewinding all the way back to Wounded Waters, where they start with 4 presence in play and a lot of energy, but they're literally dying.
Yeah, I think starting with 4 energy was something I was super excited about with Wounded Waters, but because of their track and their growth options, it's pretty hard to generate extra energy, and thematically it makes sense, but I wouldn't. It's pretty risky to go turn 1 major with them.
True. So the last spirit that we haven't touched here is Quakes. They are quite complex and is the actual least played spirit that I have from this expansion. Only have 5 games under my belt, and they kind of intimidate me still.
I've played Quakes a number of times. I enjoy Quakes a lot. I know there is a very consistent Quake on turn X build you can go with. It's probably on turn 3, but I don't know. It's something I've not done. I've always been very flexible with my choices for when to get my cards out of impending. But I guess we should mention, because they are the most complicated spirit, exactly what they do. So first, they have 6 cards instead of 4. That's a unique thing. And the reason is not only do they play cards onto the board, they also play cards in impending. Cards in impending will gain energy every single turn when you would normally gain energy. And once they have more energy than their costs, they go into play. You have 3 zones instead of 2 zones. You don't just have your hand in discard, or I should say hand play and discard. You have your hand in pending play and discard. And it lets them play some more expensive cards. Their hand starts out costing 10.
There are 6 cards there, so there's that, but 2 of them cost 3. It's a hefty price.
It is. And so they're kind of... you kind of go into waves where you put things in pending, and the spirit likes grabbing majors, and so you grab some majors, a major or 2, and you put that in pending, because it's another way to play them for cheap. But also, it lets you put more cards into play the turn your majors come out, meaning you can threshold them much easier.
You also have every element in your starting hand.
Yes.
Which is pretty unique.
Most of them, you have multiple of them.
True. You can threshold any major in the game pretty comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
It's also not weird to have, 6 or more cards in play on any given turn past, turn 4.
Yes, so you'll have 6 cards in play on turn 4, and then 1 card on turn 5. It's
an ebb and flow.
Yeah.
Quakes feels like you're building up this tension to then, make an earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
You're dancing about. They also have another unique token. They have the Quakes token. And this one, unlike the Vitality, isn't shared. It is exclusive to them. What does the token do?
So various cards and one of your innates puts Quake tokens on the board. And the Quakes interact with your right innate, which needs a decent number of elements, but again, you're having these large turns where tons of cards are in play, so you're usually hitting the elements. And they basically just do a bunch of damage to buildings where they are. And depending on how much damage you want, and depending on how many elements you have, you're either doing small quakes where each one's doing about 2 damage, or you're removing them off the board. You've spent the tension in the ground, and you're doing 1 damage for every invader, plus 4 damage per quake token in that land, which destroys lands.
Yeah. So I haven't played the Spirit very much. They're very complex. Whenever I watch you guys play the Spirit, you guys get to this point where you quake, and the board kind of just disappears, and I go, I trust you guys are doing good. Okay. Goodbye, everything. It's a little funny to watch. I feel like you guys aren't doing much, and then you do a lot.
Yep. I like playing Quakes because I just turn 1, grab a major, and just be like, oh, okay, and just toss it in impending, and be like, that'll eventually show up.
Yeah. I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty with the Spirit in the future, and not today. I do have a lot of questions with them. As they're my least played Spirit, I'm quite inquisitive here. Whenever you reclaim, you can either, this is a choice, get a major power or place a presence. And I think that's a pretty interesting question.
Not only do you get a major power, you get it without forgetting any cards.
Yeah, that seems strong. It seems cool at the very least.
Yes.
But I do like placing presents. So that was our, I'm going to call it brief, for overview for all of the spirits in this expansion. Where do you place these on our little scale of the good, the bad, the ugly? Are these...
Personally, I would put 6 of them on the good. I've enjoyed playing a bunch of them. I'd put maybe 1 of them on the bad. I just don't really enjoy them. And I think I'd put Wandering Voice, for me, on the ugly. They feel like lightning. Base Lightning Swift Strike, where they want you to just not do anything for a little bit. so that you can be really powerful on turn 3. I'm just not into that play pattern. The most fun I have is, looking at power cards and figuring out how to fit them into my plan, figuring out how to fit them into my elements, and they don't need to. They can just say, I'm going to keep my first 4 power cards, and I'm either going to be powerful enough to win, or I'm not winning.
That's harsh, but true. I don't think as many are as good for me, and I think that's a pleasant thing to say about the expansion as a whole, because you don't have to play with every expansion, every game. Only about half of these guys are on the good side for me, and the other half are bad, and I wouldn't really call any of them ugly. For me, the most ugly that any of these get is, I wish that they were maybe a little weaker. Not a lot, just turned down a little bit.
They are on the upper side.
Even the good ones. The good ones I think are maybe just a little too strong. And I don't think that they're strong in unfun ways, which is why I like them a lot. But they kind of feel like they don't have any bad cards.
Yes, there's no Raging Storms in this pile. Even Dances in their 3 costs, the only one that has 3 cost uniques, both of their 3 cost uniques are good. And they kind of get to cheat with energy because you impend them. So who cares that they cost 3, but you actually spent 0 on them.
Yeah. This is really cool. If you only care about spirits, I would be shocked if you were to purchase this expansion and not fall in love with at least one of these guys. But this expansion has a lot more. So the next thing I want to talk about is spirit adjacent, and it's kind of already been mentioned with Locust, but we have a lot of aspects. Yes. We're going to go through this really quickly.
20 of them.
20 of them. And we're not going to touch all of them. I love them. Every single one of them. If we have the good, the bad, and the ugly, these are great.
Yes, the aspect pile as a whole is great. They even printed a unique token, the Deeps token, for the Deeps aspect. So not only do we have a unique pile of tokens for Dances, we have a unique pile of tokens for an aspect of a base spirit.
Yeah. And those tokens, they're really fun. They feel like personalized Badlands that become cast downs.
Literally the ocean.
Yeah. That's really cool. It's really fun. I don't want to play base ocean. Darkfire for Shadow Flicker Like Flame has completely replaced the spirit for me. I enjoy Darkfire rather than kind of dreading playing Shadow Flicker and Flame.
I am dreading a little bit when I'm going through all the aspects of Shadows.
There's so many.
I am trying to play every aspect, so eventually one day.
The memory, he has 2, and I think they're both super fun.
Mentor and Intensifying.
Yes.
They're both very fun and very different.
Like, they change the way that you play, how you grow, the cards you're looking for, the way that you interact with your teammates. Really enjoy all of that.
Most of the aspects from this set feel like it's new spirited, not just an edit of the old spirits. Some of the older aspects, they're very minor tweaks. And some of these new ones are as well. Unconstrained on Fangs.
It's just Fangs.
It's just Fangs. Which is fine.
Yeah.
But, Locust feels like a new spirit to me. I liked Serpent, but I never really liked the reclaim loop with the Aegis, and that's definitely something that Serpent was very powerful at doing. But Locust said, get rid of that probably too strong card. You don't do this other thing. Copy other people's cards.
Yeah. I love what the aspects did. It feels like all of the spirits they touched were reinvigorated and they're new. I'm not going to say that every single one of these replaces the previous one, but a significant portion of them, whenever I go to play that spirit, I am likely playing an aspect. Even Bodan, his tracks are terrible, and they made it feel like his tracks are exciting somehow, even though they are unchanged.
To be fair, starting the game with up to 4 card plays is a little bonkers.
And yet, it's still just fine.
It's just fine.
It's just fine. But the way it feels is awesome. So, if you don't like any of the spirits, you are bound to love the aspects. These are like Spirits 2.0. Big recommend on all of those. So the things that affect every game, or have at least the potential to affect every game, we have events, fear cards, majors,
one minor,
and a minor power. There's also some blighted island cards. Where do we want to start?
Let's start with the powers. And we're going to start with Roiling Bog, Snagging Thorn, the only minor power.
You know, before we talk about what this power does, I think it's important that we talk about what it used to do.
It is not growth through sacrifice.
So, with this expansion, some cards were removed and were updated. This being one of them. And I'm very excited because the previous card left you with no choices. You took it and you won the game.
Yes, it was too powerful of a card, and this you had removed it from your deck much earlier than this expansion, but that meant that the minor power deck was just slightly out of balance. There was one less fast card, the elements weren't exactly balanced, one less zero cost card, and I think this card does a good job of being a reasonable card to replace it.
Oh, it's awesome. Like, everything that you could say about that previous card, in terms of it being a fast, zero-cost, 4-element card, is true here, because it matches all of those things. It just changed its effect. And its effect is really cool. It generates a fear, it isolates, it does defend 2.
Prevents a Dahan from participating.
Like, it's a mishmash of things, but they all just kind of work well together.
Yeah, so with the default, 1 explorer, 1 town, 2 Dahans, you see, well, this defends it, and gives you a fear as a bonus. It does require a Sacred Site range 1. So this card has a lot of specific things on it. But sometimes you just use it and you're like, hey, that land's isolated.
Something that I like about this card is... I guess I'll rewind just a little bit. If I were to redesign the zero-cost cards, I would make it so that they max out at 3 elements. I find that there just is no such thing as a bad zero-cost 4-element card. This card feels cool to me still because it does have that Sacred Site range 1 cost attached to it. It is more restrictive. It does a bunch of weird things. It's not necessarily the most powerful card.
Making 1 Dahan not participate is a big cost.
It is. It's a real downside. And sometimes you repeat this card, and 2 things aren't. You feel like you're Downpour in disguise.
Yeah. I think it's a very cool card. They did a very good job of making it not feel that powerful, which I think a zero-cost 4-element card shouldn't be that powerful in the text, but not being nothing. The card's not blank. You can usually find a use for it. It's just not necessarily the use you want for it.
I am still excited to see this card, but I do not think this card wins me the game, like Growth Through Sacrifice. In fact, this expansion, for me, might just be worth it off of this card alone. I'm exaggerating, that's not true, but goodness gracious, I love this card. It's one of my favorite cards. If for nothing else, it's really pretty.
It is. The art's very good. On the top of Growth Through Sacrifice, because I mostly play with Tom, and he had to remove the card by the time I joined. If you haven't played with Growth Through Sacrifice, I recommend sleeving it up and putting it in your deck to play with a couple times, so you can understand what's the power of this thing.
This card is busted. It's such a fun effect, too. I'm glad that this effect of proliferating exists with a cost through a lot of the major powers, including some of them from this set, like bargains.
Yep, we got 2 proliferators in the set. The first one is a Bargain of Coursing Paths. I'm really bad at names.
This card is really fun. If you see this card, you have to convince me to not take this card because it's very fun, but it's also really strong. And it's, for me, maybe a little on the too strong side. I hate that it's so fun and strong together. It's like, get out of here, but also come back to me. It's an abusive relationship.
The problem I have with it is when you play it once, maybe even twice, maybe you proliferate with it, and that's all great. But I see this card and I play it, and a Locust player copies it, and then someone makes me reclaim of Gift of Constancy, so the next turn I play it again, and it gets copied by the same Locust player. And now that's 8 lands on the board where invaders don't get to exist.
You did a cast down.
I did a cast down, and it only cost me 4 and proliferated me 4 times.
Only. I talked about this card recently with Downpour, and the card wins the game. Sometimes you get this, you see it early, you proliferate 3 times by repeating it on Downpour. It's very easy to threshold it, and it kind of pays for itself because you proliferate off the top, and it has this ongoing cost, but you gain energy by going off the top. So, it's very fun, very strong. Glad I have it. I wish the major power deck were a little bigger so I saw a little less.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to feel that way about a couple of these cards. They're very fun, very powerful. Maybe I wish I saw them a little less.
Yeah, I also think, in my opinion, the major power deck could use some smoothing out. I think some of their early major powers were
really bad.
Really bad. And almost all of the major powers from this set are good. It makes the major power deck better.
Yeah.
We have a friend who doesn't look at the major power deck because of how inconsistent it is. And this is going to make it more consistently good.
Yep. If they release an expansion that didn't have a spirit, and I don't know why they would, it's named Spirit Island, but if they just released a 50-card major power pack, I'd be pretty excited about that. So even though we only have, 10, 12 cards here, It's pretty cool.
I would also be reasonably excited about them reworking some of the other old majors and just cutting some of the things that make them not very good. And to make them, I don't need them to be powerful. I just want to feel good playing them.
Yeah, I don't want to place a Blight to deal 5 damage.
On the topic of feeling good playing them, let's talk about your favorite card, Tom.
Oh yeah. This is Unearth the Beast of Wrathful Stone. I think that there's a grand total of 4 major powers that I've removed. I'm on the cusp of, 1 more because it's too powerful. And this is one of them for being too weak. This card, I played it, I think a grand total of 4 times thresholded, and all 4 times, it got canceled. The event deck said, nope, we're going to Ravager build here, and I said, this card sucks. I hate this.
I was here the day that Tom gave up on this card. It was pre-Bureau. It was HME, the adversary from the set, by the way. And it was the turn right before the Salt Constant Ravages. So he targeted a land, and since the event deck canceled it, we couldn't ever do anything with that land.
I have been told by several people since, hey, you know that this card says anytime in the future that they don't do this, you trigger it. And I go, of course I know, but they will always do this from here on out. I played it in this land for a reason. Perhaps it's the difficulty I play at. Perhaps I just got unlucky many times in a row. But I'm not playing this card again. It frustrates me. I don't want to be frustrated.
For me, it feels like you need to combine it with one of a skip all actions, which are usually majors.
Yeah.
And majors that need other majors to combine with them, especially ones that cost 5, they're rough.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the cards that I had removed from the major power deck would be Vengeance. I forget the whole name of it, but it doesn't do anything by itself, so I just got it out of here.
Vengeful Dead.
Yeah, get that card out of here. Okay, we've talked about really strong major, really, for me, frustrating major. I guess we can touch on anything in between. Do you have a favorite one?
Well, I know you love this.
I
do love it as well. Bombard with Boulders and Stinging Seed.
This is my favorite major from this set. It doesn't do anything fancy. Nothing special. It's just cheap cost.
2 costs.
Bunch of tokens, bunch of damage, bunch of fear. Like, it just does what I want to do in this game. And I don't think about it.
I also love this major. I sometimes wish the major deck wasn't like, 2 to 9 energy, but was like 2 to 5 energy. And had more like, you just want a little bit more juice. There's a bunch of spirits that I would be very excited to have a 2 or 3 cost major to splash into my turns sometimes, but it's hard to look at the major deck because I need to have 4 or 5 energy to be like comfortable, to be like, I want to look at majors, because a lot of them are more expensive.
Yeah. The average cost is like 3.8 or 4.2, somewhere around there. I'd done the math at one point, and if you separate everything into piles, you do get a bunch in 3 and 4, and then some scattered and everything else. But I feel the same way. The number of times that I have looked at the major power and seen a 7, 7, 8, 9, and I go, oh my goodness, these are useless. It's a little sad. So, I agree with you. I wish that there was a third deck that was like the major powers, but cheap.
The moderate powers.
The moderate powers. Go over there for the real major powers. If you want to do some rumbling earthquakes, go over there.
Well, let's talk about rumbling earthquakes then.
This card does damage.
Yep.
It's kind of like Bombard, but like expensive.
6 energy, slow, Sacred Sight, 1 range, and for me, the most interesting line of text is it ignores health bonus.
Yeah, this is relevant. It makes it so the card does what it's supposed to do all the time.
It makes it so it does not feel bad against England.
It feels the opposite of bad against England.
Correct.
It feels great against them. It also sturdy towns.
Yeah, from HLC.
Yeah.
Also, like, you just don't occasionally get hit by some event that says, hey, all the towns get +1 health, and you're just like, what am I doing in my life?
Yeah. The fact that this is an expensive 6-cost slow power, and it just does what it says it does, feels great. If this cost, like, 2 or 3, and it were a slow power, and it didn't have that line, I think I'd be very comfortable. I wouldn't even noticed. But the fact that this is so expensive, I do want it to be consistent.
You know, the other thing I like about this, it is 6 costs, which is expensive, but even without thresholding it, you hit 2 lands.
Yeah. I think that major powers, I'm going to say 6 is kind of the threshold here, but if you're looking at a major power and it costs 6 or more, it has to affect more than 1 land.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which brings me to a little bit of a disappointment.
Fragments of Yesteryear.
Which costs 7 and doesn't affect 2 lands.
It is a really... It's like, could be a really big effect, or it could do nothing.
Yeah. Let me talk about this threshold. It has 2 of them, and that's dope.
It is so cool. So it removes all the token pieces, and then you add pieces matching the target land setup symbols. Super cool. It is an land deleter. It fully resets a land. Just costs 7. It doesn't give you any fear in that process. If you have 3 sun, you can make it fast. And if you have 3 moon, you don't remove any of the Dahan, any spirit presence, or spirit tokens. And you don't add invaders or blight when you put the setup symbol.
So when it's thresholded, you get a fearless remove. I'm not excited to do this at 7.
7's expensive.
Mm-hmm. Jungle Hungers does this at 3.
Mm-hmm.
And you would say, no, it doesn't. It leaves that second city. Like, why do you have a second city?
It puts in work occasionally, but very rarely do I take this. I love the art. I love Fractured Days. And, like, clearly this is Fractured Days art. But it is rough. Especially without the 3 sun to make it fast.
Whenever I'm paying 7 for a major, I want it to do what Exaltation of the Incandescent Sky does. This card's fun. It does everything.
It says, support your ally and yourself in every given way. And then, on top of that, if you threshold it, you probably just won the game.
This card's super fun. It affects so many lands. Like, almost all of them.
So that should go through all of it.
Go for it.
So target spirit may play a power card. card by paying its cost, make up 2 of their powers fast, and deal 3 damage any one of their lands. And you can do it as well. And this thing costs 7. It's expensive. But even unthresholded, you play this card. It does a lot of things. It usually gets another threshold for your ally and possibly yourself. Slow to fast is Lightning Spitstrike's entire gimmick, and it does that. And 3 damage kills a city, or a town and an explorer. These are all super relevant. The threshold is element expensive. 3 sun, 3 fire, 4 air, and 2 water.
Something important is that the card you play with this card can help you threshold this card.
Yes, because the play occurs before we check the threshold line. And this one skips any 4 lands on the island, you skip 1 invader action. Then you just generate 5 fear. 5 fear is a lot. You're already generating probably 4 of this, killing 2 cities, so this turns into 9 fear that way. And skipping 4 actions in a 2-player game, that's every Ravage, or every build, or every Explorer.
Or you only have 1 land and you go, it's going to skip the Ravage and the build. Oh, and the Explorer.
Yes. And you don't have to choose the lands when you play the card. You have these 4 floating skips to go anywhere on the island just as you need them. Mm-hmm. You play the card and you're like, I'm going to need to skip 2 Ravages, and the event shows up and your Dahan defend for you. But don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah. This card's really fun. I see it. I try to play it. This is what I want a 7 cost card to be. So for every hit, I guess we have a miss and vice versa. Let's talk about another miss. We have a 4 cost one that doesn't generate fear again.
Inspire the release of stolen lands. 4 cost slow, range 2. Can't target a land of blight. And you gather up to 3 Dahan and remove up to 3 health worth invaders per Dahan. And the threshold is 3 sun, 3 water, 2 beast. A little 3/3/2
feels weirdly difficult to do.
Yeah, if it was a 3/2/2 instead of a 3/3/2, a little bit easier. You can target a land with blight, and then if Dahan are present, Dahan are going to be present. You're not playing this card if they're not. You remove a blight from that land, and then you remove an explorer, a town, and a city from a land within 1 of the targeted land.
So this card reminds me of Vigor of the Breaking Dawn. Broken game. Vigor of the Breaking Dawn. That's the word. It's a little more expensive, better elements.
Slow.
It does, the card feels very similar. I feel like it pushed it too far into the opposite territory.
Yeah, if I could target blighted lands with it unthresholded, for me that's actually the biggest part.
It makes it really hard to do.
It makes it hard to do, and the threshold's hard to do. So, but if I could play this for the first time and be like, oh, I'll just target that land over there, drag 3 Dahan in, and remove 2 England cities. You don't have 2 England cities somewhere that you don't have blight. Unless you're Wounded Waters, you can drag that blight out.
This card is great on Wounded Waters. Yeah, that's really where my feeling is on this, is that this feels like a card that doesn't have a threshold. The threshold is just bundled into its cost. You must threshold this.
Mm-hmm. When you threshold, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I do feel that lack of fear.
Yes.
The one time that we had played this a bunch, the board was completely empty. I think that there was literally just explorers. And we were like, so we haven't won because we're in terror level 1 still? Oh, this is a problem.
I find it very hard on the higher difficulty games to get rid of every explorer on the island, let alone every town and city. Yeah, that can be quite challenging.
Yeah. I wish it had a little fear on it, so I just feel like it's pushed a little too much, but it's a fun card still.
I saw this line of text, I don't remember where, but it's basically just 1 fear per building in effects.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I would like that.
At the same time, I kind of appreciate it doesn't have fear. Not because it makes it a strong card, but because it makes removing different than destroying.
Yeah.
If it did say +1 fear per town, +2 fear per city, what's the difference between it just doing damage? And the answer is a bunch of nuanced things, but
it's complicated.
But generally, like, yeah, I kind of like the fact that it doesn't give you fear. It removes more things you can remove for a 4-cost major that does damage.
Yeah, but damage sucks.
Yeah. Other than, of course, Vigor.
Yeah. Oh, man. I wish Vigor were weaker. And then you show me this, and I go, I wish this card were stronger.
Well, we'll go over the last slow major, being Ravage Undergrowth Slithers Back to Life.
This card's awesome.
I love the name. The name's great. Sacred Site, range 1, can only target lands with Blight, the opposite of Inspire. And you replace a Blight with Badlands, and you get a Fear and 3 damage, and you get to push that, not Badlands, Wilds. And you get to push that Wilds. What do you feel about this Unthresholded? Just that line.
Unthresholded? I'm pretty happy to play this. This fits into that category of cheap major power that does a thing anyways.
Destroys a city and heals a Blight. Yeah. It's a Sacred Site range 1 is a little restricted, but that's okay. Even gives you a Fear doing that, so kind of gives you 3 Fear. And then its Threshold is 3 water, 2 plant, which is pretty cheap. If you're a water spirit, this is...
If you look at the art here, it shows us Downpour, and Downpour can't not threshold us.
Yes. But most water spirits can find a grass to hang out with. With this, you add another wild, and you may push that, and each land that you push wilds to, you get to push a town or explorer to a land without wilds. This could affect 3 lands thresholded.
This is what I expect a 6 costs to do.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't destroy those, but I don't think I care.
This is most certainly a control. It's kind of... Yeah. It kind of delays the game, right? You're healing a Blight, you're pushing a bunch of things around, and you're saying they're not exploring in these lands.
It does what I think a moderate power does.
Exactly. Like, I think this is great. The only big challenge is most often pushes you want to push where they're going to build, and you're not sure where they're going to build when you play this. And so you kind of hope that you can make it work out in the slow, which you usually can.
Yeah.
Of course, you can just have someone exalt you and make it fast.
Okay. Another moderate power is Flocking Red Talons. This is another power that can affect a lot of lands. It's really cool. Now we have some of these majors that are doing a lot of things. This one, quote-unquote, gathers... But it gathers from a range 2. It feels like you're many mines. Or is it even... I think it's range 3, isn't it?
It's range 3. It's not gather, Tom. It says move.
Yeah. Quote-unquote gather. It feels really cool. You feel like you're many mines just out of nowhere. It's in the game now. And you kind of just annoy the explorers and towns. And you play this on a land with a city, and you feel kind of bad.
Yeah. So it's 3 cost. It's range 3 from a wetland. And that restriction doesn't feel like a restriction because it's range 3. But there's so many times where I look for majors on a reclaim and I'm like, oh, this card's pretty good. And I look and I'm like, oh, I'm not placing a presence in all of my land. None of my lands are wetlands. This is a problem. But yeah, you basically just add a beast, you move a bunch of beasts to that land, and you get to deal some damage and push some explorers and towns, and its threshold gets you repeat it.
It's another one of those control cards. I feel very comfortable with control cards being at this cost.
Yes.
I'm pretty happy with them. If I were to think about how to smooth out the major deck, I think it would be more of these cards here and less of these Jungle Hungers. Like, I would genuinely make Jungle Hungers like a 5 to 7 cost card.
Mm-hmm. This card, what's the 2 costs? Tiger's Hunting.
Yeah.
This card feels very much like Tiger's Hunting.
Yep.
Surprisingly, I was in a game where we had on our team both Flocking Red Talons, Tiger's Hunting, and a Locust. And this card says repeat on it. Tiger's Hunting does not. And you can't repeat repeats. So Locust did not really like repeating Flocking Red Talons because you only get it once. But Tiger's Hunting doesn't say repeat on it. It just does a similar thing in an adjacent land.
Yeah. Card is strong. There's only a handful more majors, and I'm pretty happy with the ones that we've talked about so far. If we were to put the majors as a whole onto the good, the bad, the ugly, where do you think they are?
As a whole, they're good.
They're good. Approaching great.
Even the two majors that we don't like that much, they're interesting. They do things. They're not talons, just fast 4 or 5 damage for 6 energy.
I think it's 5.
I think it's 5.
Destroys a city and a town, and then a bunch more towns.
Yeah.
At least that card affects other lands. Yeah, these are all good, with some exceptions that I think are very unfun. But anytime that I look through the major power deck, if there are 3 older majors and one of these, odds are I'm taking one of these. They just feel fun to play, they're slightly more powerful on average, and so if you compare them to any random major power, they're probably better.
More than they're slightly more powerful, they're just slightly more cheap.
Yeah.
Like, I can actually play these.
Yes. Across the board. I could imagine Bombard. If this were printed in the base game, ignore the fact that it has 2 tokens on it, this card would cost 4 to 5.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to play that at 4 to 5.
It would also add a Blight.
It probably would. No, only add a Blight. The land targeting would add a Blight if it was like wetlands or something.
Exactly. I am really happy about all these majors. These majors make me feel really good about the future for majors.
Mm-hmm.
And they make me want to go back and just scribble on all the previous majors and be like, be better, but not too much better.
I did want to talk specifically about one more major.
Yeah, bring it up.
Transformative Sacrifice.
This is actually 4 miners in a trench coat.
It is. So it's 3 energy fast, and you can remove... Target spirit removes up to 3 presence, and for each presence removed, they take and play a minor power for free. The threshold being 2 moon, 3 fire, and 2 grass lets you remove a 4th presence from your track, so it's a proliferate, and you take and play a minor for free. So this is up to 4 miners in a trench coat. I love this card. I love putting 4 miners down. I love proliferating. I also hate this card because you just kind of point at someone and hope it works out. And like sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But it takes a really long time to resolve. You figured out your turn, everyone's figured out their turn, and then someone has to figure out an entire new turn. Or more specifically, what the 4 cards they gained affected everyone's turn again.
Yeah, this is a card that shifts when things happen. And normally there's this discussion, planning, during the growth. And this says, we're done with growth. Do that planning phase again before the invader phase. It's like, it feels off-putting. The power is strong.
It's really exciting.
It's fun to get a bunch of miners. You proliferate. It does what you want it to do.
It's so fun after you play this card and you reclaim, have like 16 cards.
A gauntlet of cards, yeah. It's awesome, but I agree. It breaks the flow of the game. It almost feels like a relic in Slay the Spire, where this is something that shifts your entire game plan, and it's supposed to happen during the growth, but it doesn't. It has the missed time. It's like, how do I make this fit in the game? Oh, put it in the fast.
Yeah, even like other things in the game that put cards into play in the fast. Mentor, you make that decision in the growth, or at least we do. We're like, hey, do you need this card? Okay, cool, I have that planned, and then it's not a surprise.
Yeah, making this happen during the fast after decisions have been resolved feels a little funky. The ways that you would resolve that would be to make it so that you do like the top X cards in the discard. I don't think you should have the knowledge, though.
I agree. I think the card is mechanically perfect where it's at.
Yeah.
But it does, especially when you've played this multiple times in a game, stretch things out.
Yeah, and if you've played it twice in a game, you've won the game.
Usually,
and so now you're just going through the motions, and sometimes I feel like the puzzle isn't worth the squeeze, you know? Like, I did the thing.
The other thing that this reminds me of is Trickster with Let's See What Happens. But usually with the Let's See What Happens land, you just say, I'm going to let's see what happens there, and the whole team just hopes it works out.
You also start the turn with that, and you kind of decide where, during growth. Mm-hmm. And then you just, like, RNG. Like, okay, cool, that was a fun dice roll.
Yeah, it either happens or it doesn't, and, like, when it doesn't happen, no one was going to deal with it anyways.
That was no one's problem. So, the major powers are great, and these are potentially in every game. So, even if you only like one spirit, you get to play your favorite spirit, and you get to see these majors all the time. There's a couple of things that could be in every game as well. We have a pile of fear cards, events, and healthy island cards, or realistically, blighted island cards. Instead of going through all these individually, do we have some overarching thoughts about how these are connected or integrate into the game?
So I was, looking through these. The fear cards, they just seem like fear cards. They do approximately what I expect of a fear card. None of them are particularly notable to me.
There's I think one that's really weird to me. It generates fear there are Dahan and invaders. I feel like there's a lot of words to say get one fear per player.
It is. Is that that's per board?
It's per board with invaders and Dahan.
Yes.
Like, this just says get X fear, where fear is the number of players. It feels a little weird to me. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, you're right. These are just fear cards. They're
good situationally, and you hope you get the right ones.
If you didn't know that these were expansion fear cards, you might not notice. You might notice because some of them say things like isolate, which didn't exist, but
I think isolate's a pretty cool thing to get on a fear card.
Yeah, it's super awesome. Like, I'm really happy to have all these cards. And I've played this game a lot before Nature Incarnate, and so I recognize all these cards immediately. For me, they feel fresh and different.
Something to note for me, I only played about 10 games for Nature Incarnate. So in my brain, a lot of these are just mixed up in the whole pile.
Yeah. That's, for you, these are just more fear cards.
Yes.
And for me, these are a fresh take on the fear deck. Mm-hmm. There's two different perspectives for you. I would say that these are each a win. I'm really happy to see all of these cards. If we were to partition the fear cards from worst to best, I would put these in the top 50%, like, I think all of them.
Well, none of them make me lose the game.
Yeah, so. None of them make you lose the game. None of them demoralize you. The events are, I would also say, kind of all hit. They feel more balanced across the board.
Yeah, so couple things notable for the events for me is there's 3 event cards that specifically call out Badlands.
Which is completely unique to this expansion.
And one of them adds Badlands. The only way one of the Blighted Islands adds Badlands. It's cool that they added that on all the fear. But other than that, they're mostly just feel like more events. Just the invaders get something small, you care about Beast and Dahan. And sometimes disease comes in and beats people up.
I feel like a lot of these events have player choices that are individual. Mm-hmm. Most of the events beforehand that involved player choices were as a group. We do this one or this one, and here we've got that spirit's going to do this, and this spirit's going to do that.
They're also cool. They're also all choices. They're not costs. Like,
yeah, I mean, some of the choices have costs,
but they're just choose one or the other, and not, hey, you need X number of elements to choose this. It's always weird when you could pay for it very easily and you don't.
Yeah, that happens sometimes, notably on the Earth one. Forget the name of it. Pretty happy with all of these. You see these basically once a game.
Yep.
You're going to see these cards.
The disease ones don't kill my Dahan, which I'm happy for.
The Blighted Island cards, I think that there's 2 categories for these in my mind. And those are the fun ones that I'm excited to see and play with, and then the boring ones that I'm excited to play with because they're better than the previous boring ones.
It probably has my favorite Blighted Island card.
Which one's that?
I want you to guess.
I'm going to say Shattered Fragments of Power. You draw a major power, plus 2 more, and each spirit takes 1 and gains 2 energy.
That one is great, without a doubt. Pretty sure my favorite is Slow Delusion of Will.
Disillusion.
Disillusion of Will. Slow Disillusion of Will would be my favorite. Which you choose a Badlands, Beast, or Wilds, and at the start of each invader phase, you replace one of your presents with that. I love games where there's a bunch of Badlands. It's
so you're saying
funny.
This adds Badlands.
This adds Badlands.
It sure does.
I think we hit this when we were playing 3 Beast Spirits, and we did choose Beasts, though.
Not all of us.
I also just really love the theme. So most of the Blighted Island cards, I couldn't really tell you the theme. I'm sure they have them, but this don't hit for me. But for this one, where you just you're slowly losing the ability to even have a will as a spirit and going into the landscape, it's almost like spirits were a thing of our past in our world, and now they're just they have lost the whatever force was animating them. Now they're just again once part of the land.
Yeah, I think that these are each independently neat. The worst of them are what I call boring. And we have Attenuated Essence, where each invader phase, if you have at least 5 presents, you destroy presents. It's nothing special. This has been in effect more or less in the game since the base. It's just boring to me.
It feels pretty soft to me.
Yeah.
But it's just slightly annoying.
Yeah. You aren't going to lose from losing all of your presents, and I think more often than not is that you are going to get down to this threshold of 4 or less presents on the board by other means, and then you aren't going to be destroying your presents anyways. I think that the ones that just kind of make you destroy your presents are uninspired. I think you have to have a certain number of them in the Blighted Island deck so that they do show up because they're an important effect, but they don't entice me in the same way that getting an extra major power does.
If I was teaching someone the game, I might stack one of those on top. It is something they don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
Oh, you just lose a little bit of presence. It's also saying that, usually Blighted Island is bad.
Yes. Unlike your Burn Brightest Before the End, where we proliferate.
Yes.
This is fun.
It is fun, but those each only have 2 blight per player.
And dangerous.
They're dangerous.
I like to live on the edge.
Oh, all the fun blight cards do live on the edge.
Yeah. I wish there was a mode where I only saw those, and I could just force this, but I don't want to see the same 4 to 6 Blighted Island effects. I want 100 Blighted Island effects, all that make me live on the edge.
Tom, you're too interested in blighting the island.
Yep. That maybe. So, all of these effects that could be in every game, I think are great. And whenever I think about the Nature Incarnate expansion, these things, the major powers, fear, events, the Blighted Island effects, those are actually what keep me excited the most over a long period of time. Because every Nature Incarnate spirit isn't in every one of my games. In fact, besides the fact that I play Sun a lot, these aren't in most of my games.
I was about to say, there's actually the thing that keeps you most excited for a long time is Sun.
I do like looking at the majors, and I'm seeing a new major. I like getting a new event. I like seeing a new fear card. So those are what's really cool to me. There are 3 things that we haven't talked about yet. The first one is a scenario that is kind of like drafting in advance, and then you get to pick your powers from there. And I think that this is kind of a relief to some of our complaints that we have with the volatility of the major power deck. Whenever you get to see a 2-cost major power, and you take that in this pre-Destiny draft, it feels really exciting. But on the opposite end, whenever you have this really expensive 7, 8, 9-cost major, and you know that this is the major you're going to get, it kind of shifts how you get to play. everyone becomes Fractured Days. A little bit.
Yes, this is one of the few scenarios that's actually a decrease in difficulty. So it's -0 to -2 difficulty. And I felt that when we played. We've only played this scenario, I've only played this scenario once or twice. It's nice. For me, it's fun to, like, do the drafting, without the talking, where you're, like, not only drafting for yourself, but you're like, how good is this card for my allies? We got Transformative Sacrifice. Who do I think it should go on? Will they also agree with me? Or, like, will it swing back to me? And all that's fun.
This is certainly a scenario that you could play without Nature Incarnate. Mm-hmm. But it's formalized on a card here, and it's fun to play.
Yeah, we mostly play 2 players, and I don't think this necessarily plays as fun at 2.
I agree.
So we haven't played this a lot.
The other one, it feels like an adversary light. Surges of Colonization shifts the way that the invader deck works. It's like an adjacent to Prussia.
Yes. We played this a lot right when it came out. You were a big fan of Surge.
Yeah. It's cool. It can kick your butt. And we don't play it often because the default for us is frequently just single 6 adversary. And I don't think this goes well with single 6 adversary.
It's hard. Especially with the big surges.
Mm-hmm. It kicks your butt. It's fun, and it shifts the way you think about the game. That's something we really learned, was that these defend spirits, the ones that have a defend as their innate power, they don't have things to do.
I played Eyes, I think, one of the surges, just to experience. I knew it was going to be rough. And, like, half the turns, I didn't have a thing to do. Because the thing that Eyes does is just defend and move to Han when you defend. And, like, sure, I could move to Han on the other turns, but it wasn't doing much. In the turns in which the surge was happening, there was so much going on that it was hard to defend everything.
This is another scenario that you could reasonably play without the Nature Incarnate expansion. This formalizes it, and it gives us some reminder cards to help the play through. You make it so that whenever you explore, you double explore, or, on a large surge, you triple explore. And you go back and forth from not exploring to exploring a lot.
When the surge happens, you're drawing 2 invader cards, and then the next turn you're not drawing any invader card.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's cool. We haven't done it in a while, and maybe we should.
Maybe we should.
I think that's a cool scenario. We just don't touch scenarios that often. And finally, the last thing in this box is Habsburg Mining Expedition. This is good.
I agree. It's in my top 3 adversaries for sure.
Okay.
I think my top 3 would be England, Russia, and Habsburg Mining Expedition, which I'm going to say HME for the rest of the time.
Absolutely. So I think I agree with you on that same top 3. Prussia maybe sneaks in as a little bit of a comfort pick.
Yeah, Prussia's nice because it's so simple. I know, like, it's also, like, we use it to teach.
The rules overhead is so low.
It's most certainly the best adversary to teach players. I like my games to last a little bit longer. I like to feel the power of the spirits in a little bit later of the game. And for me, HME feels most similar to England, where they're just, they get a lot of buildings, and there's just a lot. It's
something that's different compared to England, and we could talk about this for an hour and a half, just this alone, but their built-up land, rather than being on the coast, is inland. Mm-hmm. It makes it really difficult to isolate against them.
But control spirits still have things to do.
Yeah.
Unlike England, like, pushing an explorer does a thing.
This is a really good adversary. I like playing against it. I like thinking about it. I like how it interacts with the disease in weird ways. The ongoing ravage with assault.
I like that the lost condition got moved to a trigger end of fast.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing.
A random event moved to town, and you lost the game.
Yes, oh my goodness. The timing on the lost condition alone makes this a great adversary.
I love the fact that you don't have 6 sphere cards in Terror Level 1 like Scotland, and it takes forever to get to fear cards that actually feel worthwhile getting.
For everyone who tells me Scotland is their favorite adversary, this is part of why we don't like it. 6 fear cards at Terror Level 1 is brutal. This, overwhelmingly for me, is not just part of the good, the bad, the ugly. This is great. I like this adversary.
I agree, it's great. Probably the only thing is, like, it's level 1 has a lot of text, and there's a lot of rules changes that occur with HME, which are much more complicated to explain than, like, England. Oh, they build near buildings, and Russia's like, their explorers don't die and deal extra damage.
Yes, the rules complexity on that is higher, but I'll say that's true for everything. The lowest complexity spirit is moderate. Mm-hmm. The major powers have a lot of text. Some of it is kind of technical. Even the event cards are a bit nuanced. Everything in this entire expansion is a little more complex. If you're looking at this expansion, you're already on the deep end, so I think it'll be fine for anyone who's looking into getting this. I would recommend this expansion to everyone who's interested in Spirit Island.
I agree.
If you are getting Nature Incarnate, you should probably have the other expansions, but I think this is the best expansion to date.
I agree. I also agree with is probably, you have to get it after Jagged Earth. Jagged Earth sometimes feels less like an expansion and more of a should have been part of the base game.
Takes time. This is a big game.
Big game. This feels much more, to me, like an expansion. All of these pieces are great, and I love them all, but they're not needed.
Speak for yourself.
You're right. Tom could never play Spirit Island again without Sun as an option.
Exactly. Well, I think that wraps up our review of Nature Incarnate. Is there anything that you want to add before we say goodbye?
Nope, I'm all good.
Awesome. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.